Hello, Jake. How are you today?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good. I just wanted to first take time to thank you for taking this time out of your day to talk with me.
Sure.
A couple things I wanted to go over with you before we got into the interview was, we're going to talk to you about why you chose your career today, but it's only going to be me and my teacher and up here from this class that's going to look at that. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
All right. I just want to let you know I'm conducting this interview for my 379 class. The purpose for today is just to gain a better understanding for your career. Just to let you know, I will be asking some questions concerning your career and why you chose to pursue it. You good with that?
Sure.
Good deal. So, what is your career?
Well, right now I work here in Bowling Green at Lowe's Home Improvement. It's a retail company. Most everybody's probably heard about it. We're Fortune 500. So I'm actually over 2 different departments, lumber and building materials. I've got 8 guys underneath me. It's kind of a cross between workload as far as grunt work and secondly an admin side, paperwork, reports, things like that. But yeah, technically it would be a department manager at Lowe's.
That's awesome, man. What made you decide to get into that field?
Well, I was in college and graduated last May, and was looking for a part-time job, trying to make a little extra money, and just happened to put in for a seasonal spot at Lowe's. They hired me on, and I was there for 2.5 years seasonal, and they actually asked me if I'd be interested in a part-time job, which technically the same thing. So I went through the interview process and got on part-time. I was doing that for 2 years, and about 8 months ago I graduated college. When I did, they actually offered a management position for me. It wasn't open at the time. We had to sit down and kind of, got with senior management and tried to figure out what opportunities I had with the company because I'd already invested enough time. So just asked them if there was anything they could open up for me, and they did some, a little bit of research, made some phone calls, and had a management spot open up for me pretty quickly after that. So
that's cool, man. That's cool. What kind of skills do you feel are real important in your field that you're in right now?
Well, as far as a manager goes in a retail chain, it's a whole different ball game. I graduated with a management degree, so the things I learned and the traits and the qualities I acquired in school are really helping me now. But I would say that mostly things like leading by example, engagement, because it's up to if it wasn't for the customers, I wouldn't have a job.
Right.
So it's really about bringing these people in and making them feel comfortable, and as far as the training standpoint, me myself included, I've got to have my guys trained as far as product knowledge is concerned, because customers aren't going to come into Lowe's when they can go to Depot and get what some people think better services. So I really strive on a training aspect to make sure we're above and beyond the competition. But I would say mostly leading by example, motivation, engagement, and probably training in my position.
So you're at the point now where you're kind of, you're over, like you said, you're over a department, and you're more or less the boss now.
Right.
That's awesome. Who was your biggest influence, in your decision to decide your career, and why?
Well, when I started part-time, I was under a guy, his name was Mike Glass, actually, and he was my manager for 4 years. I watched his climb. I watched him go from my position now. He was a department manager. I watched him climb the chain. He went to an assistant store manager. He then went on to get into what they call the SMTP program. It's a store manager training program specifically for Lowe's. He got into that, was selected from the region, so he did that for 6 weeks, and as soon as he got out, he was offered a store manager position in another state. So watching his climb and his journey, and I saw his drive and his commitment, it really motivated me enough to think about where I want to be and what I want to do and who I want to be as a manager, and he motivates me to want to be a better manager. So I would have to say Mike is my biggest influence as far as where I'm at and where I want to go.
So the next question I have for you is, where would you like to see yourself in 10 years? Is it you know, you're talking about Mike. Is that a, you know, something that you would like to see yourself in his, you know, in his shoes?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Where I'm at now, you know, I stated that earlier, you know, I've got enough time invested in the company and the training and the knowledge I've got. I have no intention of stopping. Truthfully, in the next 5 years, I'd like to be in his position. 10 years down the road, who knows? I wouldn't mind being in corporate, you know. As far as a store manager, that it doesn't necessarily stop there. It continues to grow. You can get on into district and region and senior management above the company. So, but yes, to answer your question, I would like to be in his shoes between now and the next 10 years for sure.
So basically, you know, Mike is a leader. I mean, he leads a store, and you're saying that's what you want to do. So what kind of characteristics do you think make a good leader?
I think it comes down to a fine line between personability and accountability. I think those are two big things because, especially in a retail chain, you've got to have, you know, a personable personality so you can go out and really reach out to people and build rapture with people and have positive relationships, because that's ultimately what, you know, provides positive customer service, and they're going to have a shopping experience that's, you know, enough to where they want to come back and have future business with us. So I think the biggest thing is having a good personality, and you got to be outgoing. You got to be willing to, you know, lay yourself out there and really show people what you're all about. But the same, you know, with that said, you've got to be able to also hold your people accountable, and you got to be able to say, hey, listen, you know, there's times where we can joke and cut up, but there's also times that you have to realize that we're trying to run a multi-billion-dollar corporation. I mean, we started.
Absolutely.
And, you know, so I think definitely accountability and personability go hand in hand in that sense.
All right. So what do you think the biggest challenge that you're going to face in the next, you know, you said you want to essentially be in his spot in 5 years. What do you think the biggest challenge is that you're going to have to face?
I think it's honestly the amount of information and the amount of training I still have to get. You know, I've laid myself out on the line, and I've showed people that I'm willing to learn. And, you know, in a company like Lowe's, we stay so busy and so frantic, it's hard to really sit down with people and get that training. So I think the biggest challenge I'll face in the next 5-10 years would be having the time and the availability to sit down with these people and figure out, you know, particular things that a store manager has to know, particular things assistant store managers have to know. Because when you're, you know, running a $45 million store, there's a lot that goes in that. So I think the biggest thing and the biggest challenge I'll face is figuring out the odds and ends and the things that I don't know right now.
Yeah. I know you talked about Mike and how he kind of is moving away, or already did move away, and is that something that you would potentially be interested in, or would you be, you know, open to moving away if that meant, you know, climbing up the ladder, per se?
Well, it's funny that you say that because roughly 4 months ago, Mike, and he's actually in Arkansas, so he reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in an opportunity in his store. At the time, I wasn't really ready. I was trying to, you know, kind of get some other things in my life figured out, but a couple weeks ago, he actually reached out to me again, and I took that offer. He had a department manager spot open for me, so I put in for it, had the interview. He gave me the job offer, and so within the next week and a half, I'll actually be going to his store. So to answer your question, yes, I'm completely up for relocation. I think that's one of the biggest things in a company like ours is testing other markets and other districts and seeing how different customers react in different, you know, different areas. So yeah, bar none, I would be interested in moving, and that's what I'm going to be doing here.
Yeah, and to go on, you know, with what you're saying, that I believe in that type of work and that type of atmosphere, that you have to be open to moving, you know, to move up the ladder, because, you know, there's not always a spot, you know, for somebody to move on up, because they're, you know, it's already filled.
Sure.
Would you encourage any of your friends or family to pursue the same path?
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of people don't realize this, and honestly, you know, I didn't expect whenever I graduated college to be at a company like Lowe's. With a management degree, I didn't expect to be in retail, but now that I've actually seen the ins and outs of the company and see the kind of money that the senior managers make, I would highly suggest people be interested in a retail chain. As far as the benefits, the stock options, the pay incentives, you know, I think it's definitely something that everyone should look into especially, you know, and it's not necessarily something that's business degree oriented. They take in a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, so I think it would definitely be something that I would encourage people.
Awesome. And just real quick, is there anything that we haven't discussed today that you'd like to go over?
No, I think we covered a lot, and you know, I'm really glad we got this opportunity, and I look forward to giving other people the knowledge that they may not have about a company like Lowe's.
All right, Jake. Well, I appreciate you.
Cool. Yep.